again, folks. I just comb my hair to make myself look a bit more presentable because I'm usually pretty scruffy when I'm on camera. What am I doing today, you wonder? I'm making boxes. In the past videos you've probably seen me making these little boxes, but I've also got other boxes in my sheds with these miscellaneous bolts and things in, but they're not very strong, and you can see what happens after a while. The sides all bulge out when you get filled up with various bolts and things. And what I was thinking of doing was making some replacements. Now I'll just show you what I've got in mind. I've made a couple. This is the first one. That's a small one. That's to replace this particular type of box. So that's that size. These are just my samples. That's the next size up, as you can see. And this one is the largest size. The first thing you're thinking of is, now why on earth has he painted them white? That's what you're thinking. I know you're thinking that, because I'd be thinking the same. My reasoning is that if I paint them white, they're going in a dark shed, and it makes it much easier to see what's in them. In that bin, it's much more comfortable to the eye. You can see what you've got. That bin, it's all dark, especially in a dark shed. So that's why I'm painting them white. Now, as for the materials for making them, I'm using all offcuts and junk, so nothing's wasted. So all you need actually is the two sides and a back and a front, like that. So you can make the bins any width you require. They'll all be the same that way, but then you can have them as narrow or as wide as you want, and then you can make them to fit. So you can make so many bins to fit a shelf, and then if you've got a little space you can make another little bin of that size to fit that space, so nothing's wasted. So that's what I'm doing. Right, I'm just going to go through the process of making these little bins. I'm going to whack that in the vise, ready for nailing. It's easier if you can put it in the vise. Let's put the piece down there to lay it on. Make sure you get the top where you rounded it off. That's ready to nail on there. Bit of glue. Just put a little bit of glue on the, just pop that on there. Now I'm going to use these 1-inch nails. My hands are too big for doing these sort of things really. And I've got these gloves on, which makes it worse. But one in the bottom, one in the top. Not too near the top, otherwise it will split the plywood. Right, that's that done. Take it out of the vise and get the front piece and daub a bit of glue on the front piece like that. Put that in there. Make sure the bottom's flush and the front's flush with the. That's one side done. Now just the other side. Bit of glue. Get the other side. Put it on the top there. Piece of cake to make these things are. This is one I did a little while ago ready. I haven't put the bottom on yet. For the bottom it's easy. All you need is some scraps of hardboard. All you got to do is plonk it on there like that. Making best use as you can. Don't waste anything because it might come handy for something else. And then just simply draw around it. Rather than blunting the nails before you bash them in to stop splitting the wood, it's probably a better way to do it with a small drill. I've got this little tiny mini drill here. I've had this for probably 40 years now, and it's ideal for doing a job like this because you can drill the holes into the end here without splitting the wood. Then it's simply a matter of just popping the nail in and bashing it home, and that way you won't get any splitting at all. One tip I can give you is when you're doing this, it's probably, rather than drilling straight down vertically like that, it's always a good idea if you can to drill at an angle like that. If you do that, then bash the nail in at an angle, it does make the joint much stronger. It's what you call dovetail nailing. You see, if you put two nails in like that, it's going to be harder to pull apart than if you put two straight in. That's the principle behind it. Right, now it's just a case of putting the bottom on. Just get a bit of glue and daub it around the bottom edges, because it's a job to nail to this thin plywood on the sides. The thicker sides are not too bad, but the glue will make all the difference. If you don't put glue on it, if you just stick the odd nail in, it will eventually pull apart and all the stuff will fall out the bottom. One day somebody will go into my shed after I've gone and they'll say, look at those lovely bins, I wonder where he got them from. Not realising that some old boy made them, or spent hours in his workshop and then spent hours telling other people what he's doing. It takes me 3 times as long to do anything nowadays since YouTube. Just get your base, whack it on, and then you got to put a few nails on. Container, I should say, not a drawer. When you're doing the front one, because there's nothing to nail about, just put a bit of wood under there to support it, and then you can nail quite easily. The nails really are there to hold it together while the glue's setting. If, like me, you're a scrimper, you'll have some of these scraps of hardboard lying about. When you do a project, you'll get little bits like this, and you won't want to throw them away. You'll keep them somewhere just in case, which is what I do. Now, when you're coming to put the bases on these boxes, you can use all these small scraps. Just join them in the middle. If you measure them out, see, that will fit on there fine. And then this piece here, that'll do. You can cut that down there. As long as you get a nice straight edge along here, and you can easily do that with a plane or sanding or whatever, and do the same with this piece. Once you've cut that off, apply a bit of PVA or other adhesive on there, push them together, nail them on. When the glue's set, that will be perfectly alright. Now obviously if it's a great big wide bin, it's probably not such a good idea because it would tend to sag in the middle. But for these narrower bins, then that works fine, and it's a good way of using up scraps that you're going to throw away. I don't like waste. I put the front piece on, and I put the glue, the PVA, around there. All I need to do now is put a little bit of PVA along this edge. It's not critical, and just press it in place. Press it up. I'll say it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it as near as you can, and then get your little tacks. It's very difficult putting tacks into this very thin wood. It's much better if you've got solid wood than plywood. That's why I'm using solid wood on these. If you make it too thick, that makes the bins too heavy and cumbersome. And if you make it too thin, the nails won't go in. You've got to be very careful with your nailing. Once that's sanded down and just flattened down, you won't even notice that. Well, that's the finished job. All I've got to do now is put a bit of paint on it, and that's another bin finished.